Time to once again go around the horn with Ben McKee. I'm Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com. Tennessee gets the series win over Georgia by taking game two in the set. Volunteers win 9-2 in this game. Ben, 45-6 on the year, 22-4. Tennessee's clinched at least a share of the SEC regular season title, depending on what happens the rest of this weekend and tonight with that Arkansas Vanderbilt game. But Tennessee, I thought tonight was as good as Tennessee's been in a while. I thought that was a really well played baseball game by Tennessee.
Yes, it was a dominant pitching performance, and or not pitching performance, but a dominant performance all the way around. And the storyline of the night was Tennessee clinching at least a share of the SEC regular season title, and we can touch on that before we get out of here. But the offense was phenomenal. That was the offense that we became accustomed to, Brent, and you and I kind of had a short conversation about our thoughts and feelings on the offense where it currently sits after last night's game. And I guess they watched what we recorded and wanted to prove something tonight. And Jarrell Ortega and Evan Russell really anchored the offense. Two home run. And for some reason, it doesn't feel like he's hit as many homers this year as he did last year. But you look on the stat sheet, and he's now hit 12. So saw the power tonight. I just think he's been a more complete hitter this year. Even this weekend before the homers, an opposite field single for an RBI. That's not really something you saw much from him last year. So Evan Russell, big night offensively. Jarrell Ortega continues to really crush the ball. He drives in 3 runs. And what I love most about that is all 3 runs, each were driven in from each part of the field. RBI double down the left field line, bloop RBI single to center field, an RBI single to right field, hitting to all areas of the field. And I love that most about his performance tonight. And kind of lumping Luke Lipschius into the conversation, I really like that it seems like they've settled on Luke Lipschius in the 2-hole because he gets on base a ton. And you obviously want guys on base when Jordan Beck, Drew Gilbert, Trey Lipscomb are coming up. And then on the flip side of Luke being in the 2-hole, you've got Jarrell Ortega in the 6-hole. And I like Jarrell, who is a very talented hitter, being up behind Jordan Beck and Trey Lipscomb and Drew Gilbert. So when those guys get on, which is pretty frequently, you have a guy that you trust in Jarrell Ortega to drive them in. And you certainly saw that tonight. I mentioned Ortega's big night. Luke had a big night as well. I think he's up to 3 or 4 walks on the weekend through 2 games, had a big solo home run to give Tennessee a run back after Georgia had tacked on a run. So a really well-rounded performance tonight. I didn't really touch on the pitching there, but Camden Sewell comes in and pitches well. Mark McLaughlin, Kirby Connell, Tidwell kind of battled through his outing, looked good, looked like he's still trying to get to his usual self. I thought it was a really dominant performance tonight, Brent.
Yeah, and I think something that probably doesn't go discussed a whole lot is I thought they were terrific in the field behind the pitchers tonight. I mean, Camden Sewell does what Camden Sewell does. He gets a bunch of ground balls because of the sinker. But then they did a really good job, in the outfield tracking the ball. I just thought I thought they were very complete tonight. They were clearly dialed in and ready to play, and this was a complete performance all the way around. You mentioned Tidwell, 84 pitches, gives up 4 hits, the 3 walks. I guess the most concerning, is the 3 walks because he's gotten himself in a little bit of trouble there. You got to get a little bit of a better command moving forward. If I would imagine that's the whole focal point with Frank Anderson and Tony Vitello to Tidwell right now, correct?
Yes, especially when 2 out of the 3 walks are with 2 outs. That just can't happen. And that is the quickest way to irritate your pitching coach. And I'm sure it's one of the first things, if not the first thing, that's already been talked about with Blade, or whenever they do sit down to discuss his performance. I'm sure it'll be at the very top of the list. You just can't give up 2 out walks. And I continue to think that it's him just continuing to knock off the rust. I mean, entering the night, he's only thrown 17 innings on the season because he missed so much time. So I'm still giving him a grace period. And look, the goal is to have him ready to go by Hoover, and really to have him ready to go by regional weekend, the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. You want Blake Tidwell looking like Blake Tidwell. Tony Vitello said after the game, he was pretty adamant that he thought Blade progressed tonight because he was able to give up some 2-out walks and was able to battle through some command issues and still give a solid outing. So not the most efficient 84 pitches, but you eliminate some 2-out walks there and just the 3 walks in general. And instead of going 4 innings, you're probably going 6-ish innings, which I think he's on the cusp of doing. I think Blake Tidwell is getting really close to regaining Blake Tidwell form.
All right, let's talk about Tennessee for tomorrow to close out this series. They'll go Drew Beam to start. Um, Healthy in the bullpen. I mean, I guess Sewell can't go again, but other than that, you got about every option available for you in the bullpen moving forward, and you're wanting Drew Beam to get you 5 or 6 to kind of get back on track. Correct?
Correct. And Tony Vitello wouldn't commit to who is going to pitch tomorrow. So I guess technically it's still TBA to be announced. But I would be kind of surprised if you did not see Drew Beam, especially since we saw Chase Burns come out of the bullpen on Thursday night. I don't know what the thinking will be behind Burns. Theoretically, he could come back and pitch tomorrow if they wanted him to, but maybe they just essentially give him the weekend off and let those, I think it was 37 pitches, just be those pitches that he's going to throw this weekend and allow that arm to get some rest, because that's the whole purpose of this weekend from their standpoint, is continue to work Tidwell back, continue to work Dolander back, but then also give Burns a rest. So assuming Bean does start tomorrow, I don't even think that he'll really be tested in terms of throwing a ton of pitches. I mean, if he's efficient and pitching well, I think it'll be 60, 70, somewhere in there. And as you mentioned, they're looking good in the bullpen. Will Mabry hasn't thrown yet this weekend. Ben Joyce hasn't thrown this weekend. Raymond Walsh could certainly come back and pitch. Mark McLaughlin, Kirby Cannell, they didn't throw a ton tonight. I don't know what Camden's final pitch count was. I'd be kind of surprised if he did come back, but I guess theoretically he would be an option if need be. And I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out that deserves to be mentioned. But they're sitting pretty, and I'm really surprised how Georgia's offense has not looked as good as they have looked all season long. It's been a Tennessee pitching staff that, even despite some struggles here and there from Chase Burns, Blake Tidwell, they've been able to keep a good Georgia lineup quiet, only 4 runs through 2 games.
Yeah, they've done a really good job limiting any damage when Georgia appears like they're getting some momentum going. Tennessee's finding a way to get a crucial out, get a rally stopped, or limit the damage, certainly, throughout this series. Sewell, by the way, pitched 51 pitches tonight. Hard. I don't see any way that he's coming
No.
back tomorrow.
No.
Georgia's in a situation. They threw their best tonight. Didn't work out for them. They've had a hard time in the 3rd game of series this year just because they don't have the pitching kind of numbers and where they're at in the bullpen. Sets up pretty for Tennessee's offense on a Saturday afternoon when you look at where Georgia's staff is compared to where Tennessee's staff is and what we've seen through 2 games. This sets up for a nice closeout of the weekend for Tennessee potentially.
It certainly does. I would be kind of surprised if Tennessee did not win Game 3, quite frankly, just because of how they've played to this point in the weekend, the polar opposite of how they looked at Kentucky, which I think supports the theory that all of the circumstances they had to deal with in Lexington is what hampered them most and led to the results that did happen. And they've completely bounced back. So I'd be surprised just with them bouncing back if they were to drop tomorrow. But not only that, but as you detailed, Tennessee's got the pitching edge, and you can't ask for much more. I mean, outside of Cannon, their pitching staff is just not very good. They have some talent, a couple guys with talent, but team statistics do not support them being prepared for a series finale. So I think Tennessee will come out and take care of business, and it'll be a fun day to take care of business, I think, because whether Vanderbilt is able to knock off Arkansas tonight or not, all Tennessee needs tomorrow is a win, or an Arkansas loss, which could also happen on Sunday, because obviously Tennessee's ahead of everybody else this weekend since they started on Thursday. They're going to be outright champs at some point, and I know there's still a lot left to be played. And Tony Vitello, Luke Lipschius, Evan Russell, they said all the perfect things to the media after the game, but you set out to win the SEC. That's one of your goals every preseason, and they accomplished it. And the SEC East back-to-back years was cool, but I think it's really cool that they're on the verge of outright winning the SEC for the first time in 27 years. I know there's still a lot left to be won, but that's something that this baseball team should be very, very proud of, because it is not an easy league to win whatsoever.
Well, and to win it potentially with a series to go and slam the door on that, as you said, at 22-4, and really you've had one bad weekend of baseball. You gave a game away against Auburn maybe, and obviously in that game, and here or there you lost one, but you've had one bad weekend. The consistency of this baseball team has been really remarkable. It showed again tonight as Tennessee gets another series win, beating Georgia in game 2 of the 3-game series. Vols win over the Dogs by a score of 9-2. That's going to do it for this edition of Around the Horn. He has been McKee. I'm Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com.